Hi everyone, it's Kristie here with another video for Two Scrapbook Friends. Today I'm going to take you through making a card for any of the rock stars in your life. We're going to be using the Rockstar Collection pack from Reminisce, some holographic cardstock, black cardstock, an embossing folder, and then we've got some of the standard supplies that we have in most of our projects. And I'm also going to take you through using the We Are Memory Keepers envelope punch board so you can see how to make a coordinating envelope with your card project. And that's one of the reasons why I really like using collection packs for card projects, because I can really easily make coordinating envelopes. So for our card base, we're making a standard A2 size portrait card, and that means we're measuring 4¼ inches across and 5½ inches tall. I've pre-cut and scored this piece of the Nina Solar White Classic Crest in the 110-pound weight, so we've got a nice sturdy base for our card. We've got some holographic cardstock. You can get the holographic cardstock from Lawn Fawn, which is really fun, and I thought it would be appropriate for a Rockstar card. And I've got some standard smooth black cardstock. You want to use a smooth black cardstock for this project because we're going to be putting it through an embossing folder. So I find with the smooth cardstocks, they tend to get the best results through embossing folders. And the embossing folder we will be using is from Spellbinders, and it is called Sunburst. So you can see we get that really great burst pattern. I'll just put the black cardstock under so hopefully you can see that a little better. So it's also going to create almost a center focal point just by using this embossing folder, which is a really great way to add some interest to your card background rather than it just be flat black cardstock. So we will take you through that. And then let's take a closer look at this Rockstar Collection Kit. This is the 3x4 cut apart that I've cut apart for this card. So Born to Be a Rockstar Rock and Roll Soul. So I have some dads in my life that are super into music, and I thought this would be a great way to celebrate them for Father's Day by using some of the great content in this collection pack. So you get 8 12x12 papers, 2 of each design, and you also get a coordinating sticker sheet. So we're going to use some of the stickers in this collection pack in our project today, but you get the cut aparts of different sizes and some really great coordinating paper. So let's get this all out of the way and get rolling on our project. So I took this piece of black cardstock, which measures 4¼ by 5½, so the full size of our card panel, and I took a piece of it and I ran it through my die cutting machine using the embossing sandwich with this Spellbinder Sunburst die, and you can see the level of interest that just running it by through that die cutting machine with that simple embossing folder adds a lot more interest than just a piece of regular black cardstock. So I just wanted to show you that, because you can of course make your cards with this just a standard black piece of cardstock or any color, but it just adds some really cool interest by having the embossing folder with the raised pieces. You could even use the deboss side in this case. I think that looks pretty neat too. So just keep that in mind, just to add a little bit of jazz to, a little bit of rock and roll to your cards. You can jazz them up just by using the embossing folders on the panels. Now I'm going to cut this panel down. So I'm going to bring in the Tim Holtz paper trimmer, the heavy machinery for this card, and I'm going to cut this panel down to 4 inches across to 5¼ tall. And for the 4 inches, I wasn't exactly right in the center with that sunburst, so now I've got that in the center. For the height, I'm going to take an 1/8 of an inch off that side and an 1/8 of an inch off this side, and that will keep us nice and centered for when we put this onto our card project. So we're going to get the heavy machinery out of the way for the rest of the program, and let's get to putting together the rest of the pieces on this card. So I've got my piece of holographic cardstock. I cut it a little bit bigger than the 3x4 cut apart so that I could have that nice little margin. So the piece of holographic cardstock is 3 1/4 by 4 1/4. So you can see I just get that nice margin around the side. So I'm going to take my tape runner, get some adhesive on the back of the 3x4 cut apart, and I'm gonna bring in the secret weapon ruler so that I can make sure I get this 1/8 of an inch all the way around. So this is a ruler by Creative Grids that I've had in my sewing supplies for quite some time. And you can see I've got it lined up on 1/8 of an inch mark so that I can put this cut apart right up against there and ensure that I'm 1/8 of an inch from the top, bottom, and side. And I think I might have cut this piece of paper, this holographic paper, actually a little bit too big. So I'm just going to I'm gonna bring the heavy machinery back here and just cut a little tiny bit off of this side to even that up. There we go. That looks great. So sorry about all the moving around there. We'll get that out of the way. Okay, so now you can see that holographic cardstock just adds a little bit of pop to the background here versus just putting the cut apart straight on the black cardstock. I thought that added just a little something to our project here. So now we are going to adhere the cut apart piece to our panel. And I was trying to decide if I wanted to pop this up with the foam tape or just use the tape runner. And I think, let's see here, I think I'm going to pop it up because we're going to bring in a couple of embellishments from the sticker sheet available in this collection pack. And we might be able to make this work with giving a little bit of loft to this cut apart piece. So let's get a few pieces of foam tape down here so that this will stay nice and supported through the mail. And that looks like it'll do here. And pop off our release paper. Gonna take some liquid glue, and if you've seen some of the other videos, you'll see this is something that I like to do just to give me a little bit of playtime when I'm working on my projects, because if I stick this down just with the foam tape right on my card, I don't have any time to be able to wiggle it around, play with the placement at all. But if I use the liquid glue on top, I do get a little bit of playtime, which is what I would like just in case I make a mistake. So I've got this lined up along the same line all the way down the left side, and I'm gonna make sure it's the same from the top and the bottom as well. So just making sure I'm at the same marks, and then I can press that down with confidence to make sure that I know I'm getting that straight and even on all sides. So that looks great. So we're almost finished our panel. I'm gonna bring in the sticker pack from this collection pack. And I really like the different elements here, the guitar picks, headphones, records, music notes, some really fun things to add a little bit of embellishment to our card project. So I am going to go with the records, and I'm just gonna pop out the center there with my tweezers. And I'm gonna put one of the records here. We're just gonna do a small little cluster and layer a couple of the records up. get the centerpiece out. There we go. So we're going to layer a couple of the records here and just make sure they're still within the overall perimeter of the edge of the card panel here. And I am going to cut just a tiny bit of foam tape to support those records because they are sticky on the background because they're from a sticker sheet. I just want to put a little bit of foam tape on the back of the records because they are sticky on the back. And if this is going through the mail, it's going to get crushed a little, not crushed, but it's going to get pressure on it. And I want to be able to have the records supported. So we've got a little bit of foam tape on the back, and I'm just going to wiggle this around and we can make sure that we're still within the perimeter. And I'm going to need a little bit more foam tape actually, just on the right hand side so that we're fully supporting those records. And this little piece of release tape is being a little bit stubborn. There we go. All right, so let's get this down here. Fully supported records that don't cover up anything on our project and are supported through the mail. So that's great. We've got the records down in the corner, and I think that might be it, actually. I want to be able to see that embossing folder design, that sunburst through the bottom. So I think that'll be good. And I'm getting a bit obsessed here by the foam tape on the records, but that top one, the little record, isn't quite supported as much as I would like. So I'm going to cut another tiny piece of foam tape, and I know this is fiddly. If you did not want to mess around with any of this foam tape business, you could have just glued down the entire like this piece, the popped up panel piece. You could have just glued that right onto your card front panel and you wouldn't have had to fiddle around with any of this. So if this fiddly piece is getting you worked up, just don't add the dimension. Just go straight to the card front and you're good to go. So this is almost finished. I'm going to bring in our card base. We're gonna get some adhesive. This adhesive is out, so I'm just gonna grab another one here. Never keep my adhesive too far away from me. Whenever they're getting low, I've mentioned this on I think one other video, that whenever the adhesive gets low, adhesive anxiety kicks in, and none of us need that. So you always keep your adhesives close to you. So we're just going to, I can't remember if the border here is 1/8 of an inch or a quarter. So it's going to be 1/8 of an inch. So we're going to line up 1/8 of an inch from the left-hand side all the way down this card. Make sure things are right side up. And I'm going to come in 1/8 of an inch from the top and bottom. And then we have a great even margin all around this card. So really easy, fun with that holographic detail, a little bit of interest with the embossing folder, and I think that is a really fun card for Father's Day for dads who like to rock. So keep in mind using your collection packs for all kinds of different cards in that you are going to send. So now we've got this great coordinating paper that says Rockstar black with the red print. We also have Rockstar on the back here, but we are going to make a coordinating envelope. And I'm going to be using the We Are Memory Keepers envelope punch board. Here's a little tip for you. I know this is hard to see, but you can, and it's actually hard to see in real life too. I always Google the dimensions for the envelopes that I'm trying to make because I do find the contrast on this board is a little tricky to see. When you are making your envelope, so we made, as we mentioned, a standard A2 size card, but because as card makers, we often put dimension on our cards, I really like to go one size up and make the envelope a little bit bigger so that it's not such a snug fit. So I make the size, the next size down, so 4.5 by 6, which means we have to start with our paper at 8.5 by 8.5. And our first score line, we're going to line up our paper at 3 3/4 inches. This is the most common size envelope that I make. So I have a little piece of purple tape marking the 3 3/4 inch mark so that it just takes a little bit of the guesswork out for me, because again, I do find sometimes the gold on the cream is a little bit hard to see. So the way that this works, you want to get your Teflon bone folder handy. This is the best bone folder to be making envelopes with or scoring your card bases. I saw on one of Carolyn's videos that Maker Forte just came out with a Teflon bone folder, and they really do make a big difference. So if you are a card maker, if you're thinking about making envelopes, definitely worth the investment in the Teflon bone folder. So we are going to line this up at the 3 3/4 mark across the top here. And you can see just down at the bottom, you can see there's a groove in the scoreboard. So the idea when you're making your envelopes is you line it up to the 3 3/4 mark, you give it a punch so that it's going to make an indent in your paper, and you want to score along that first score line. So I'm just taking my bone folder, running it down so that it's in the groove that's already in the board. Here you can see that groove is there. So the next mark you do, you take your paper, you rotate it counterclockwise, and you line up your first score line. So here's the line we scored. You line it up with the point on this punch. You punch again and you score. And we're just going to do that same thing on each side. So we're rotating counterclockwise, we're lining up with the point, press, and score. And one last time. Really important to remember that you line up with the score line. You don't always line up at 3 3/4. When I first started making envelopes, that was my mistake, and it does not work. So make sure you're always lining up with the score line that you just made. So the last thing we're going to do with the punch board is we're going to rotate it, and I'm going to take each of the long flaps and just use the opposite side of the punch, and this is going to give us some nice rounded corners. I'm not going to do it on the short sides because they are going to be covered and you cannot see them. So that is not important. So you get the little pieces, just going to get those out of the way. And we're going to continue with our scoring. So with the score lines, you just fold them in, and with that Teflon bone folder, you're going to take it and crease them. So the nice thing about the collection pack cardstock is envelopes. It's usually a really nice, heavier weight cardstock, so you know you're not gonna have any trouble with your envelope holding up through the mail or anything like that. So now we've got our envelope. We just need to grab some really strong adhesive, and I like to use score tape for this purpose. The score tape size that I have on hand right now is 1/4 inch. You could use the small, I think there's two smaller sizes, 3/8 maybe, and an 1/8 inch. Unfortunately, I don't have either of those right now with me. So we are going to use the 1/4 inch. So here's how I like to adhere them. So we're gonna go first on the short side flaps. We're going to put some score tape down. And this score tape is really great to use because you can just rip it with your fingers. You don't have to get your scissors out each time. It is so strong. If you had a chance to catch one of Amanda's classes in the Scrapbook Day event from Two Scrapbook Friends, she used this for her folio project, and it really is, like, once you get that down, there is no, we talked about adding liquid glue for wiggle room. There's no wiggle room with this score tape. It's down there and it's not coming off. So you got to be sure that that's where you want it. And then what I like to do is just proactively put my last two pieces of score tape on the top envelope flap. Now, I'm not ready to, get this card in the mail just yet. I need to address the inside of the card, but now it's ready. So when I'm ready to send it, I don't have to go hunting around for anything. So there you go. You have your custom envelope, which is really great. It just adds some sense of fun when you're sending your cards in the mail. So there you can see coordinates fantastic with the card project. So again, using the collection packs is a really great way to be able to get that instant coordination. So here again is the list of supplies we used for this project. If you have a moment, please take that time and subscribe to the Two Scrapbook Friends YouTube channel. Give this video a thumbs up if you thought it was helpful and if you learned something, and gives you ideas to try out ideas with your collection packs. Thanks.